What's going on, everyone? I'm Jeff St. Pierre, and this is episode 153 of the Adult Education Podcast. Today, I'm speaking with the music group Trousdale. I can tell you guys the exact date that Trousdale changed my life. It was Friday, June 23rd of 2023, so almost 2 full years ago. I was scrolling through the new music playlist on Apple Music. It's something that I do every Friday. One of those was the New in Country playlist. Now, because I work in country music, I'm pretty familiar with most of the names, at least, even if I don't know the songs, but there was one name on that playlist that I did not recognize. So, of course, my intrigue was piqued. I wanted to check it out. That song was Point Your Finger by Trousdale. I'm not even kidding. I had to listen to the song about 4 or 5 times in a row. It was just that much of an out-of-body experience. I was actually doing my morning radio show at the time, and my co-hosts were literally talking to me, and I wasn't paying attention. I got in trouble for that afterwards. I was listening to the song and just sending it to all my friends to check out as well. I can't tell you the last time that I had that kind of reaction to hearing a song for the first time, and I don't think it's happened since. So this week's episode of Adult Education is a real pleasure for me because I was able to sit down with Georgia, Quinn, and Lauren from Trousdale. I had a whole list of bullet points in my notes of things I wanted to talk about, things I wanted to touch on, but this conversation went totally off the rails in the best way. I think the final result was great, and I hope that you enjoy it as well. Also, Trousdale are heading out on tour at the end of April. I'll be at the DC show at the 930 Club on May 16th, but hopefully you'll be able to catch them in a city wherever you live, and their new album comes out on April 11th. A lot of big things going on for Trousdale, so please enjoy my conversation with the women of Trousdale. Well, thank you, all three of you, for joining me. Really, I was talking to George a little bit at the start. I keep looking up and seeing Ella on your screen. It's throwing me off. But I was talking to Georgia a little bit at the start, and I am such a fan of the three of you, and I feel bad that it's taken me a couple of years to connect with you guys, because I got connected to Michael back when Point Your Finger came out, and I've just been on this Trousdale train ever since, and I'm just so pleased to finally have the opportunity to talk to you.
Oh my gosh, we appreciate it so much and appreciate your support. We've heard about it from Michael and from our team. So it is very, very much appreciated.
Well, that's very kind. I wish I could have done more at this point on the radio aspect. The next chance I get, I will certainly be sure to jump on board. I got to tell you, though, so Point Your Finger, when that one came out, every Friday I just kind of go through the new music playlists, and I was going through the country one, and I was like, I don't know this band name. And because I work so closely with the music on the radio station, I'm generally at least familiar with someone's name. Like, I don't know every song, but I'm like, oh, I've seen that name before. And I was like, Trousdale, I don't know who this is. I listened to it, and I was on the air doing a shift at that time, and I actually missed the next chance I was supposed to talk because I listened to Point Your Finger so many times and just immediately started texting it to people. And I was like, I don't know how to define the perfect song, but this is the perfect song. I've never heard something like this. Like, it really, it strikes such a chord.
Wow. That's so nice. I'm so glad to hear you like it. Thank you. That's so awesome.
There's something about the harmonies, and I'm curious, in the formation of this group, did that play a part in how you came together? Like, knowing how well you sounded or how good you sounded together?
Yeah, that was like the first thing, I think. Well, the songwriting between Lauren and Georgia, because they were in a class together, I think that's what started them working together. And then when I came in as singing in 3-part harmony, I think the way we sounded together was what kind of like struck that chord.
Yeah.
No pun intended. That like led us to keep doing it.
Totally.
Did you hear it yourselves? Like, when you guys got together, was it like a magical moment, if you will, for you two? You're like, holy crap, like that, I can't believe we just did that.
Yes.
I think it was more, for me personally, it was more just like so fun. I think that was the thing. It wasn't really like a moment of like, oh wow, like we're the shit, right? Like, or like we're like, oh wow, like we sound incredible. But it was more like, oh my God, wow, like this is so much fun. And I think we all have such deep respect for each other as individuals and individual artists. So like singing together was such a like exciting thing for all of us because we all are fans of each other. And so that moment of being like, oh my God, like we're singing with some of like our favorite artists right now, and it's so much fun and it sounds great. And I think for me, the moment that was really like, oh, this is something like that people really love, was after Georgia and I wrote a song together in class, and we brought Quinn in on it and we performed it for the class, and there was just such a rave review of that performance, and we were like, oh, okay, like I guess this is like people really like this and maybe we should keep doing it.
I love the story that you guys met at school, and it was USC, right? University of Southern California. I imagine performing music in front of your class must be a little daunting because there's got to be a feeling of like everyone's trying to accomplish a similar goal, right? Like I almost wonder if it's like, again, I'm aging myself, but there's a movie called Center Stage where I'm like, I feel like everybody's really excited about the art they produce, but they're also like ready to take you down at a moment's notice to make it themselves. So like, I imagine performing music for a group like that must be sort of challenging.
Yes, it was definitely stressful. And I also feel like that's part of why Trousdale was such a wonderful kind of way to get out of that feeling at that time. Because we started singing together and then like immediately it was less stressful and just like Lauren was saying, more fun. And like that took over the feeling rather than like, oh, I got to prove something. It was more like, oh, this is this thing that like is so easy and feels so good versus a lot of the other things for me personally, like, you know, trying to figure out what my sound was or who I was as an artist and yeah, prove that outside and get some kind of recognition. It was like so much more complicated that way. And, you know, people say like follow what comes easy, even though this hasn't been easy in so many ways. In like the first way, it was very easy, you know, finding it, knowing it was good.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would say the music industry is easy, but I understand what you're saying. Like you felt a comfort level between the three of you that it was like, this just makes sense.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. It's all about like the culture around the musicians. I feel like there's all sorts of different cultures in the music industry when it comes to like musicians and how they feel about each other, and especially in school, like tearing people down or like the competitive kind of thing or the lifting people up. Like they all exist, but I think we got really lucky in the group of people that we went to school with. It was a very supportive class. It was very like healthy competition, I would say. Like nobody was ever like intentionally like tearing anybody down, but everybody like wanted to do their best and they wanted to kind of like show off in that way, in a healthy way. But that's a really important thing for us as a band as well, is just the history of like women competing with each other and needing to like, there's only space for one. We really are fighting against that, and like we love supporting other women and like other trios, just like it's so important and there's space for everybody. And so that's something that we try to focus on a lot.
Yeah, I read a few interviews that you've been involved in, and that message has come up quite a lot. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're aware of the surroundings and that you want Trousdale to be, you know, a welcoming agent when you come into town or when you're working with people. And I think that's really positive, because there are so many people that will cut you down in a heartbeat just to get to that next step. And I've never really, I don't know, when you hear those stories, I'm like, now that's kind of like a black mark on that person to me. Like, I don't really want to, I'm not rooting for them anymore because I've seen them hurt other people to get there. So I love that you guys are kind of embracing the aspect of like, we can all win. Like there is space for us here.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a big goal for us, like as young women in the industry, to recognize that as a pattern and like really try to do the opposite of that. And also being pushed by outside forces for women to do that to each other. I don't think it's like in our nature to do that at all, actually. I think it is the opposite of that, and to embrace that. But I think it's also a really big goal for us to just be kind to everyone that we run into as much as we can. And I think the more we do this, it is easy to see how it can get so stressful. And we're so at the beginning of this journey, I think. And already you can see like the different aspects of the music industry that can start to like really suffocate you, and could understand why people become short and stuff. And I think because we have three of us, we're able to hold each other accountable for how we treat each other and how we treat the people around us. And it's just always our goal to leave every situation with someone feeling better than when we came in, and being like, wow, those people were great. And just giving out respect and demanding it in turn, you know? And I think just leaving everything with positivity is like so important and like should be a goal for everyone, and to just be kind to each other and have a good time. We're making music to have a good time and to change people's lives for the better, you know?
That is such a way to look at it. Like, I know the music industry is still an industry, and what you do is still a job, and it's not easy. It's hard. I mean, you're writing music, you're learning how to perform and put on a show there's a lot that goes into it, but ultimately you're writing music and you're playing music for people. Like there is a fun thing about, like I always try to tell myself that with radio too, is like, yeah, every day I have to like plan and organize, and like some days are better than others and I get stressed out about it. But at the end of the day, I'm still going on the radio to play music for folks and try to entertain them on their way home from work and just keep them like awake in the car, you know? So like it's still supposed to be fun. And that is an aspect that so many people lose over time when they're in entertainment industries like this.
Totally.
It's so true. That's such a great way of putting it. I mean, it's so important to have those check-in moments where you have a little bit of a zoom out moment of being like, oh, okay, like this is what I wanted to do when I was a kid. Like I'm still doing it as an adult. I'm quite literally like following my dreams, and it's really hard, but it's pretty remarkable and it's such a privilege that we get to do this for a living. And at the end of the day, it's music. It's not heart surgery.
Yeah.
It's not like that, life is not on the line.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I thought we were doing heart surgery, actually.
They're saving lives every day.
Yeah.
More I'm in a metaphysical sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting hearing you talk about women in the industry too, because I know that Trousdale is not a specifically country band. You've got a lot of different sounds really, but you kind of fall into this sort of like folk pop country world that we're seeing emerge a little bit right now. And, from a live music standpoint and a streaming standpoint, women have been crushing it in the last few years. I mean, in the country world, I can tell you, obviously you've heard of Lainey Wilson and Megan Maroney and Kelsey Ballerini's selling out arenas right now. I mean, you really see some amazing talent. But when you look at the exposure side of things, maybe the radio side of things, it doesn't have the same vibe. And it breaks my heart all the time that we're not playing more women. And I think it's such an interesting side by side to see like Trousdale out there with, no real radio support at all. Not that that's the end all be all, but no real like mass support in that way. You're selling out clubs and venues that I've seen other artists, have to cancel shows because they can't actually get enough people in. And I think that's such a testament to what the power of female artistry is that our industry needs to pay more attention to.
Mm. Yeah.
I love you.
I love that.
That's so true. And I think it's just people like you that will change that for like the radio industry in itself, which is just amazing. But it's so true. I think that we've grown roots like out in the real world, and it might not be recognized in other aspects of the industry yet, but like they're growing and they're getting deeper and they're like spreading within people. And I think it's, our streaming numbers and especially our live shows, it's like something that we've always like really prioritized. It's how we started. So and we have an amazing team behind us. And I think because of that as well, it will just be a matter of time. It is an interesting like juxtaposition though of like all the women that you do see killing it right now, which is so many.
Yeah, our shed here in the Baltimore area, I'm not going to say any names because they're not bad people, but 2 or 3 like A-list country males were announced for the summer, and tickets were doing fine, whatever. And then Lainey Wilson comes out, and within 3 days, it's like low ticket warning. Come get your tickets. Kelsey Ballerini came through DC and sold out the DC arena. It was her biggest show of the tour. And Megan Maroney 2 nights at a venue here in DC called the Anthem, which is 6,000 each night, so 12,000 tickets in 2 nights. But meanwhile, again, you've got these A-list names that are, all over the radio every single hour that are, selling 2,000-3,000 tickets, and it's not really going. And again, it's not the end all be all, but still, like, I can't help but look at that and wonder, like, what's missing? Like, what is the missing piece that's not coming together for everybody to realize, like, these women, they've got power and the audience clearly wants them because they're selling tickets, and that's an added expense that people have to pay for. They don't have to pay to listen to the radio, but they got to pay to go see the show.
That's so true.
For Trousdale, I'm curious because, as a fan, I might see things differently than what you guys see when you look at analytics, but I'm kind of curious without, like a radio exposure, because that's just traditionally a way that people can get their audience out to a larger, group of people. What has it been for you guys that you think has really helped spread your message and spread your name and music out there?
I think it's interesting, just speaking of radio, for us, because we aren't necessarily country or just folk or just pop, or we're kind of genreless, I would say. It's been an interesting journey for us to find where people think we fit and write as many songs as we can and let people pick for us, depending on the song. And for that reason, I would also say that live has been like an incredible way for us to get people to know us like as people, and also kind of experience what we experience with each other when we sing together. And so I think live has been a huge way for us. And I also think social media, TikTok and Instagram, specifically, have been like pretty helpful tools to get us to, again, put our personalities out there, get our whole vibe going on. And then Apple has been like a pretty great supporter,
Yeah.
Apple Music and Spotify, like playlisting. So I think that's been a big part of our journey.
Yeah, I feel like we're just now starting to get comments of people saying, I heard you on the radio. And like, I just discovered you and I'm coming to your show now. That's like just in the last, I think just with this new project, even more starting to happen. Now we're seeing that a little bit more now, which is also very exciting.
Yeah, you were talking about like the different vibes of your songs. I was just listening to the songs that are out from the new album, Growing Pains, and both of them are so vastly different, right? Like you've got Growing Pains, which kind of has like almost like a 70s, I don't want to say yacht rock, but like almost that kind of vibe to it. And then you've got the other one, Want Me Back, which I mean could be a mainstream country song right now if, played in the right way. I mean, so it really does have different vibes. And even going back to Point Your Finger and the duet you did with Aaron Kinsey before, I mean, I feel like everything you do has like a very different vibe, which I love as a fan because it gives me a little bit something different every time.
Thank you. Yeah, we because there are three of us, we really come from different musical backgrounds. I would say I grew up really with no country influences, and Quinn also didn't, and Lauren, I would say, grew up with the most country influences. And so I think when we come together, we all are bringing all of our different styles, but there's always that country line through it, just because of the way I think that Lauren's voice sounds and just those influences that are like so deep. And I think that's part of how we've always kind of stayed with our toe dipped in to the country scene, if you will. But yeah, this album is full of many different genres.
Sorry, Georgia. I was just gonna say that we all started listening to country music together, and then I really like started diving into it in college. But I feel like we all could appreciate certain things about it.
I feel like country music in and of itself is such a diverse genre. Like if you look at the history of country music, especially, like you get started with just jazz. Like I feel like essentially there's a moment in time where you have the Great American Songbook stuff going on, and country music and jazz standards are actually the same kind of song. And you have this lineage that grows, and like this really beautiful lyrical tradition and storytelling that evolves through country music. And I would say even in the last like 20-30 years of country music, the genre has changed so drastically. And there are parts of that I still love to this day, and there are parts that they have grown into something that I don't particularly care for. So I think it's such a cool genre to play with, because there are so many influences even within that one thing. But I think the tradition of country music and blues and rhythm and blues really is so strong, and such a rich thing to draw from.
Totally. And the storytelling aspect, I feel like, is something that we really do use like all the time from country music.
Yeah, Lauren, you nailed it for me. Whenever I tell someone I work for a country radio station, if they're not a country fan, they're always like, "Oh, so do you like country music?" And I knew nothing about country when I took the job. I actually grew up kind of more in the punk rock world, and then this job just sort of came to me. And I would say the same exact thing that you just said. It was like, I have grown to love a lot of the things about country music. I think there's some beautiful stuff in it, but there's also a lot that I just cannot fucking stand. I'm like, I can't with some of this stuff.
Yeah, it's the same with all genres of music. There's some pop punk bands that I'm like, oh wow, this is horrible, and then there are some that I'm like, this is like, I will scream this in my car. It goes both ways. And I think honestly, like, there's the old thing that people used to say, it's like, oh, I listen to everything except for country and rap.
Right.
And at the end of the day, what is that if not classism and racism? They're just being like shown right then and there, because music is music, and it can be I always like to kind of refer to production as like dressing up a song, or like recorded music, and like the instrumentation and the elements that you add to a music and a lyric is just like an outfit that you put on, and there's different styles, right? So you could make the same song and put it in 5 different outfits, and that will just be a different kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it's just music and lyric. And to say that an entire outfit genre is just not your thing, I mean, I guess that's fine too, but it's a little bit overlooking, I think, what's actually happening there.
I think that's one of the things that I've loved about the streaming era. And I know there's some drawbacks to streaming for sure. I get it. It's not an equal world by any means, but I think the streaming era took away I listen to everything but country and rap, because I think people have been able to find the thing. They're not going to save their money and go to the record store to buy one CD with $20 anymore. They're paying their monthly fee and they're listening to literally whatever they want. And I think that's been a really special moment to come out of that. Again, it's streaming era. It probably has some things that we need to fix to make things more fair for artists and all of that, but it has opened the door for people to explore different musical interests where they could say, oh, I actually do like a lot of country songs, and there, I like Kendrick Lamar too. Like I can get into this,
That's so true. That's so true. I feel like it's so much easier to find new genres or like offshoots of genres or things in between that you never would have even like taken the time to listen to because of streaming. And you can dip your toes in without fully like even financially committing, which also, yeah, is slightly a part of the problem for sure with streaming, but I totally agree. It's such a great way to find new music on your own or have it like kind of shown to you, which is amazing too.
I think someone like Trousdale, in a way, now that we're talking about this, almost kind of benefits from this aspect in a way, because you don't have a lane. Like you straddle a lot of different lanes. And I know you did a thing at Bonnaroo last year with an old friend of mine, Andrew McMahon, and we used to talk about this, about his music, where it's like, you're too piano poppy for rock radio, but you're too rock for like pop radio. And there was this weird lane where like he certainly has had lots of success over the years, but like a streaming era has allowed him to be found by a lot of different fans that are like, I really dig this. And it's given that opportunity. And I feel like Trousdale would benefit from something like this too, in that you can fall on a country playlist at the same time as a pop playlist or whatever. And I think there's something special about that.
Yeah.
100%.
I feel like it's been a little bit tough at the beginning.
Sure.
To get recognized in any of them because we don't quite fit. And I think when you're an unknown artist, it is easier to keep yourself in a pretty specific box just to be more digestible for the people that are filtering out the music that's coming and deciding what they're going to show to people. And I think we were told a lot at the beginning, like really asked, what is our genre? And like be more specific about it and to try to make ourselves one thing that's just palatable for the public. And it's just not in our nature at all as three totally different musicians and songwriters. And we really stuck to that. And I think because of that, the more recognition we get and the more people we get listening to us, they're not asking that of us and they appreciate that from us. And I think the more people know us, it won't be so hard to put one of our songs in a specifically genred playlist because it has a little bit of everything. And just getting more people to hear about us and just to listen to us without trying to assume what we are, I think it's easier to put us in any of those categories after that.
Yeah. I feel like the genre thing as well, like I was listening to a playlist the other day that was called like Miami, like birthday fun vibes. Okay. And so like, what does that genre, there was so many different songs in there. There was a Casey Musgraves song in that playlist that like, I would not correlate with Miami at all if I was to, and there's like Will Smith, Miami. So I feel like we do benefit from that. Absolutely. In terms of we get to just follow what we really want to do is follow the song always. And that's what I think we're all really inspired by. And we don't want to have to fit in a genre first and then write the song. We just want to write the song. And if it's awesome, like we're going to put it out,
Absolutely. So, about 90% of this conversation we've had is not how I planned it to go at all, but I love it. Like I didn't intend to talk about radio or street, like none of this stuff. But that's what I love about conversations like this is when they take a turn and like we left my notes like second bullet point in and we've just been off the rails ever since. But I think there's something special about that because we did just have an organic conversation for the last 25 minutes. I do have a couple more things I want to talk to you about really quick before I lose you. One is I do want to talk about that Bonnaroo. thing, the emo super jam, because I just remember seeing that pop up and I saw all these names involved and I was like, wait, is that Trousdale on the stage too? How did that even come together for you guys?
Well, one of our managers works with the Super Jam at Bonnaroo, and we had talked about wanting to be a part of that. And I think specifically Lauren, but all of us grew up listening to that music. I do think that was our childhood, a lot of the music that we sang. So we did feel connected. I think Lauren especially felt deeply connected with it.
This part right here used to be right over here, and the bangs were all over here.
Yes.
We have really had a great time singing on songs that you would never expect a band like us to sing on, and adding 3-part harmony to something that is so outside of the style of what we normally do. And so we do love that type of music, and we were so excited to let us get in there and sing some 3-part harmony. I think that's why we also love opening for artists that seem super different from us. And if we get to sing with people, just adding our Trousdale thing to something that's so different. So we were so excited to do that, and just sing songs that we grew up loving.
How did you get connected with Josh Kerr and Aaron Kinsey?
Well, we actually never met Josh one-on-one, but we got connected. I'm trying to think.
I think through her record label.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, through people at her record label, and I think they just thought we would be a great fit, and they just sent us the song.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, would you guys be interested? And we listened to it. We're like, this is so good. Absolutely, yes, we would. And then we just went into the room she's in right now, and recorded those vocals, arranged some harmonies. And she was so sweet. Came out, we did a music video.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites. On the up and coming side, there seems to be really something there with her that I'm hoping the label can figure out what they want to do, because I feel like she's had some incredible music, but they haven't really come full force yet to push something out there for her. So I'm hoping they're just waiting for the magic in a bottle, if you will, and they've got that coming, because she's got a lot of talent and a lot of good energy. So I was very pleased to see you all working together on that song, because it was these people that I really respect and appreciate are all coming together on one song.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Yeah, she's amazing. You.
So I can't wait. You're coming through town. You're hitting the road on April 30th. You're hitting through my area, the DC area, on May 16th at the 930 Club. That is hands down one of my favorite venues to go to, arguably my favorite venue. I haven't been to the 930 Club in probably 2 or 3 years. Up until about 3 months ago, I was doing morning show. So I was on the air from 5 until 10 a.m. So I didn't go. I live in Baltimore, which is a good, to get to the 930 Club can be a hike some days because of traffic. So I would never go on weeknights. And it just, unfortunately, you guys have always played weeknights down there. But now I'm doing afternoons, and I've gotten the approval to shoot down and check you guys out. So I'm very excited to go down there and see y'all and see the 930 Club again. It's going to be like visiting an old friend. But I'm really excited about it. And I'm just, I don't know, so pleased that you took some time today to talk to me, and I look forward to seeing the live thing in person very soon.
Woo! Thank you so much.
Yeah, looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, you're amazing. Thank you so much for the support.
Stop. Now you're just blowing up my ego with all of that. But seriously.
So easy and nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's always the goal. But yeah, it's easy when you appreciate the people on the other side. So thank you for making this easy for me too. You guys have got amazing work, and I just look forward to hearing the full project.
Thank you so much.
Big thank you to Lauren, Quinn, and Georgia from Trousdale. What a treat it was to chat with all of them. Their new album comes out on April 11th, and then they hit the road on April 30th. So please check it out. Hopefully you can see them live. And thank you to all of you for listening to this episode of the Adult Education Podcast. Until next week, be well.